Deep in the jungles of Central America, among ruins lost to time, archaeologists have repeatedly stumbled upon finds that challenge our entire understanding of history. But among these ancient artifacts, there are some that frighten even the most cold-blooded researchers. They seem to stare straight into the soul, freezing the breath. These are the Mayan crystal skulls. At first glance, they are just elegantly carved pieces of rock crystal. But if you hold your gaze a little longer, a strange feeling of anxiety grips your heart. The transparent eye sockets seem to come alive, reflecting not only the light, but also the very shadow of human fear. Legends of crystal skulls have lived among the descendants of the Maya for centuries. Tribal elders whisper that these objects were never created by human hands. Their origins go back to the darkness of centuries, to the times when God still walked the earth. The Maya believed that each skull contains a soul, locked in stone, and whoever touches this soul will receive power, but will pay for it with the most terrible torments. What is so special about them? Why have so many myths and mysterious stories arisen around the skulls? The first artifact found, the skull of Doom, or Mitchell-Hedges' skull, became the center of mystical rumors. Those who saw it said that pictures could be seen in the eye sockets, as if projected from somewhere inside, pictures of the future. And everyone who saw these visions either burned from madness or died under strange circumstances. But this is just the beginning. There is a legend that there are 13 such skulls in total. If you collect them together, they will reveal the secret of the universe. They say that they can give knowledge about the beginning and end of time, open doors to other worlds. But there is a flip side to the legend. Those who dare to disturb the peace of the artifacts will bring upon themselves a curse from which there is no salvation. History preserves many tragic examples. Collectors who sought to get hold of the skulls died one after another under strange circumstances. Some suddenly burned from fever, others died in accidents. And those who survived told of night visions. Figures in feathers and Mayan masks came to them in their dreams, warning and frightening. Scientists who tried to study the artifacts also often found themselves victims of strange coincidences. The equipment refused to work near the skulls. People lost consciousness, experienced severe headaches, and sometimes incomprehensible electrical discharges. A strange glow that could not be explained seemed to appear near them. Crystal skulls have become a symbol of an unsolved mystery. Some believe they are a fake created in modern times. Others are sure that these artifacts are the legacy of ancient civilizations that possess knowledge that is inaccessible even to us, modern people. And this is the main intrigue. How could simple jungle stone carvers carve such perfect shapes from a single block of quartz? Even today, with modern technology, creating such an artifact requires incredible precision. And yet the Mayans supposedly did it thousands of years ago. Without machines, without diamond cutters, without lasers. Did they really have knowledge from the gods? Or, as some researchers claim, from beings who came from other worlds? Now think about it. If the skulls really do have power, if they are the key to the mysteries of the universe, should we even try to explore them? For all we know for sure is that too many who have sought these artifacts have found only death. Today we will go on a dark journey in the footsteps of the Mayan crystal skulls. We will uncover the legends that surround them, remember the tragic fates of researchers and collectors, talk about the mystical properties of the artifacts, and try to understand, what is this? The greatest archaeological hoax or a legacy that can change our entire understanding of the world? And most importantly, do you dare to look into the eyes of one of these skulls and feel their cold gaze on you? Among the endless jungles of Central America, where the ruins of ancient pyramids still hide their secrets under a heavy canopy of vines, there is a legend that frightens and delights at the same time, the legend of the crystal skulls. They say that these artifacts are not just decorations or simple traces of the skill of ancient craftsmen. They are the key to secret knowledge, powers that people once had and then lost. Local shamans whisper, each such skull holds not only the memory of civilization, but also a soul. They contain the spirits of ancient priests, and if you get too close, they can look into the mind and change the fate of anyone who dared to touch their transparent eyes. The story begins in the early 20th century, when in 1924, archaeologist Frederick Mitchell-Hedges and his daughter Anna went on an expedition to Belize. It was there in the ruins of the ancient city of Lubantun that Anna came across a discovery that shocked the entire scientific world. A perfect human skull carved from a single piece of rock crystal. Its shape was so precise that it seemed to have been created using technologies that the ancient Mayans simply could not have had. But the mystery was not only in its incredible workmanship. It was said that when the skull was held up to the light, fiery sparks would flare up inside it, dancing as if alive. People who held it in their hands claimed that at that moment they heard whispers and sometimes even saw images of the past. Scenes from Mayan life, rituals and bloody sacrifices. The scientific world treated the discovery with suspicion. Scientists argued, could this skull be a fake created in the 19th century, or does it really belong to the Mayan culture? But be that as it may, the very fact of the discovery became the starting point for endless debates, legends, and myths. According to legend, there were 13 crystal skulls. Each of them contained a part of the knowledge of the ancients. And only when they were all collected together would humanity gain access to the great wisdom of the gods. The Mayans believed that these artifacts could predict the future, open the gates to the world of spirits, and even control the energy of the elements. It is not surprising that since then, a real hunt for skulls has begun. Collectors, archaeologists, and even secret societies have sought to get their hands on them, because everyone believed that he would be the one to reveal the great secret. But the strange thing is that the fates of the owners of these artifacts often turned out to be tragic. There is a story about a French collector who acquired one of the skulls through secret auctions in the mid-20th century. A few weeks later, he was found dead in his office. There were no signs of a struggle near the body, the door was locked from the inside, and the man's face was frozen in horror. The skull was gone. In another case, a famous researcher claimed to have conducted experiments with the skull. He placed it in a dark room, observed the light effects, but one day it disappeared before the eyes of his colleagues. People swore that at that moment, the air around the skull began to tremble, like heated glass, and the figure of the scientist simply dissolved. He was never found. These stories, of course, could be embellished, but the fact remains, the artifacts continued to evoke a mixture of fear and admiration in people. Scientists tried to solve the mystery. They studied the structure of rock crystal and came to the conclusion that the Mayans could not have created anything like it with the technology of that time. Such processing required tools that simply did not exist in their culture. They did not have metals of the required hardness, and certainly not diamond cutters. Nevertheless, the skull existed, and not just one. Another famous specimen is kept in the British Institute Museum in London. Its history is no less mysterious. Some claim that it was taken away by the Spanish in the 16th century, others that it was found in Mexico in the 19th century. But this skull seemed to have a life of its own. Museum employees complained that strange things often happened in the halls. The lights went out, the exhibits changed their positions, and some guards claimed to have seen the silhouette of a woman standing by the display case. But why a skull? A symbol of death, a symbol of eternity, a symbol of the connection between man and the spirit world. For the Maya, death was not the end. It was a transition, a gateway to another world. And perhaps that is why they believed that in the transparent eye sockets of rock crystal, one can see not only the past, but also the future. Every time a skull popped up in history, its appearance was accompanied by strange coincidences. People who had the chance to hold the artifact in their hands reported dizziness, visions, a feeling that someone was standing next to them. It seemed that the skulls were not just objects, they interacted with a person. And the further we went, the stronger the feeling became that the secret of these artifacts goes much deeper than the Mayan culture. There were those who claimed that this was the legacy of civilizations that we no longer know. Some said Atlanteans, others spoke of aliens. But the fact remained, no one could explain the technology of their creation. Over the years, the mystery of the crystal skulls became more and more complicated. More and more new artifacts appeared in the world, each of which was surrounded by legends and mystical stories. Some of them were kept in museums, others by private collectors, but they all seemed to have a strange power, united by one destiny, to bring mystery and misfortune. One of the most famous was the so-called Skull of Doom, which was kept for a long time by the Mitchell-Hedges family. Anna, the daughter of an archaeologist, claimed that it was this artifact that helped her foresee the future. She said that when she looked through its transparent walls, she saw events that later actually came true. Sometimes these were minor coincidences, but sometimes they were events associated with death and tragedy. In the mid-20th century, a famous German engineer named Hans Schirzl tried to study one of these skulls. He conducted optical experiments by shining beams of light through it. To his surprise, the beam refracted in such a way that it created the illusion of moving images inside the crystal. Scenes seemed to come to life on the glass walls of the laboratory. Ancient cities, blazing fires, dancing priests. Schirzl's experiment spread quickly, but a few months later, his laboratory burned to the ground in a strange fire. The official version was a short circuit, but neighbors swore that they saw a strange blue glow in the windows of the building that night, reminiscent of a pulsating fire. The engineer himself died, and the skull disappeared. Stories like these seem to run like a red thread through the centuries. People who touched the skulls often experienced visions, nightmares, or died under mysterious circumstances. This gave rise to dark rumors that the skulls were connected to a curse left by Mayan priests. It was believed that they were created not to give people knowledge, but to guard it and to punish those who got too close to the secret. But if you turn to myths, everything looks different. The Maya said that the skulls are gifts from the gods, keys to cosmic wisdom. 13 artifacts collected together can reveal the secret of the origin of humanity and even predict the end of the world. Some shamans claim that it was thanks to the skulls that the ancient priests knew about the movement of the stars, eclipses, and catastrophes. This legend came to life every time new cataclysms began in the world. In 2012, when the Mayan predictions about the end of the era excited the imagination of millions of people, talk about the crystal skulls began again. It was said that if they were collected together, humanity could avoid the coming catastrophe. But the artifacts were scattered around the world. Some of them disappeared, and no one knew whether the full set even existed. Modern researchers have tried to approach this issue more rationally. Scientists from the Smithsonian Institution and the British Museum conducted a detailed study of the samples using electron microscopes. They found traces on the surface that could indicate the use of metal tools and even modern 19th century technology. At first glance, this put an end to the theory of the ancient origin of the skulls. But even these conclusions could not completely destroy the aura of mysticism. After all, if the artifacts were really created later, who and why made them so perfect? And why, every time one of the skulls ended up in people's hands, strange and inexplicable things began to happen around? One of the researchers involved in the experiment said, "When I sat in the lab next to the skull for a long time, I had the feeling that someone was watching me. It seemed like there was someone else in the room. Sometimes I heard a quiet whisper, as if people were talking behind my back. But every time I turned around, there was no one there." There is another darker version. It is believed that the crystal skulls could have been used in sacrificial rituals. Priests placed them on altars, and the blood of the victims flowing down the stone seemed to revive them. At such moments, according to legend, the skull began to glow from within, and the priests saw signs sent by the gods in its depths. Some even believed that the skulls could store the souls of the sacrificed people. These legends make you wonder, what do these transparent crystal eyes hide? Perhaps these are just artifacts created by skilled craftsmen of a later time. But perhaps we are looking at the key to knowledge that humanity is not yet ready to understand. Taken together, these stories create the impression that the skulls seem to have a life of their own. They pass from hand to hand, disappear, reappear, as if driven by some higher will. And the people who come into contact with them become part of this mysterious game. A game where not only curiosity is at stake, but life itself. There has always been an aura of mysticism surrounding the crystal skulls. But the more people try to unravel their mystery, the more it seems that the artifacts themselves resist, not wanting to reveal their secrets. In the 1970s, a group of researchers in Mexico tried to create a catalog of all known skulls. They collected information about private collections, negotiated with museums, and the more information they managed to find, the more mysterious the picture became. Some sources mention 7 skulls, others 12. Sometimes new information appeared about the 13th, which was supposedly kept by a secret society in Europe. One of the researchers was Mexican archaeologist Alejandro Ramirez. He dedicated his entire life to finding these artifacts. In his journals, Ramirez wrote that he had a dream in which 13 skulls stood in a circle at the top of a pyramid, and fire burned in their eye sockets. He believed that this was a message, a sign that the skulls should be brought together. In 1976, Ramirez went on an expedition deep into the Yucatan. He was looking for a skull that local shamans had spoken of. According to legend, the artifact was hidden in an underground cave that only a select few could enter. Ramirez found the entrance to the cave, but he never returned. His group waited for him for 3 days but never saw him. When rescuers decided to go inside, they found only his backpack and a diary. On the last page was written, "He looks at me." This story only fueled interest in the skulls. Some said that the archaeologist died in an accident, others that he was taken by the power contained in the artifact. But neither the body nor the skull itself were ever found. There are many similar stories. In the 1980s, an American collector acquired a crystal skull at a private auction. He kept it in his mansion and often showed it to guests. But neighbors claimed that every night a strange ringing sound, similar to the crystal chime of bells, came from his house. The collector himself complained of nightmares and said that the skulls seemed to talk to him, whispering words in an unknown language. A year later, the man committed suicide, leaving a note, "He demands too much." All of these cases were reminiscent of the same thing. The skulls were not simple objects. They seemed to interact with people, causing inspiration in some, horror in others, and sometimes death. Scientists tried to explain the phenomenon rationally. For example, they assumed that the special structure of quartz could cause unusual optical effects that the human brain perceived as hallucinations. But none of the versions could explain the coincidences and strange tragedies associated with the owners of the artifacts. There is also a more mystical point of view. According to ancient beliefs, a crystal is a material capable of storing information. Mayan shamans believed that it was possible to record the soul's memory in it, and that this is what the priests did when they created the skulls. Their eye sockets supposedly contained the knowledge of millennia, and only those who could withstand their power would gain access to this treasure. According to legend, the 13 skulls were supposed to be gathered together at a certain point in history. When humanity is on the brink of destruction, only they will be able to reveal the secret that can save our world. Perhaps that is why each of the skulls appears in history at different times, as if waiting for its moment. Modern mystics claim that skulls have an energy field. Some sensitive people, when approaching them, feel pressure in their temples or noise in their ears. Others say that they felt a cold wind, although there was not the slightest draft around. There is even evidence that near the skulls, watches stopped or equipment broke down. Such stories only reinforce the sense that the crystal skulls belong to something much larger than simple archaeological artifacts. They are symbols, keys, relics around which legends and destinies are woven. And perhaps their greatest secret is not how they were made, but why. What did those who created these transparent crystal heads want to convey to us? Was it a warning, a gift, or a test? In the 21st century, interest in crystal skulls only intensified. As scientific methods reached new heights, researchers once again turned to the mysterious artifacts, hoping to finally lift the veil of mystery from them. But instead of answers, new questions arose. In 2007, experts from the Smithsonian Institution and the British Museum conducted a series of examinations of 2 of the most famous skulls. Microscopes revealed traces of processing reminiscent of modern tools. Scientists came to the conclusion that the skulls were probably created in the 19th century. But even if this is true, where did the craftsmen have such technology and knowledge of crystals? There was also one important point. Even with modern quartz processing methods, creating a perfect skull from a single piece of crystal would take years. It would have to crumble, break, and polishing would require countless hours. But the skulls that were found were too perfect, without cracks, without errors, as if they were really created not by people, but by some higher power. Mystical versions have come to life around this mystery. Some claim that the skulls were the legacy of the Atlanteans, a lost civilization, the knowledge of which partially reached the Mayans. Others spoke of aliens, as if the artifacts were given to the priests as a sign of the union between gods and people. Modern stories have added no less mysticism. In the early 2000s, a group of tourists in Brazil claimed to have seen a strange light coming from a cave in the jungle. When they went inside, they found a transparent object resembling part of a skull. But as they got closer, the light went out, and the artifact itself seemed to dissolve into thin air. There are also testimonies from security guards at museums where these artifacts are kept. They said that at night they sometimes hear a quiet knock, as if someone is knocking from inside the display case. And surveillance cameras recorded strange interference that appeared precisely when the lens was directed at the crystal skull. Some people believe that these are just coincidences. Others believe that the artifacts themselves are protecting their secret. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the legend is the prophecy that one day all 13 skulls will be brought together. The Mayans said, when the time comes, they will speak. They will speak of what awaits humanity. It could be salvation or destruction, depending on how people use the knowledge contained in the crystal. And what if all these stories are not just fairy tales? What if the skulls really are a kind of key to the planet's memory? Perhaps they are the ones that store information about the catastrophes of the past, about what destroyed ancient civilizations. Perhaps they really can warn us about the future. Humanity has always sought out secrets it does not understand, and the crystal skulls remain one of the greatest mysteries. Too perfect for their time, too dangerous for those who touch them, too mystical to be mere museum exhibits. Each new skull that appears in history adds another piece to the puzzle, but the picture remains incomplete. And perhaps that is the idea. The skulls are not meant to reveal themselves fully until the world is ready. One way or another, the crystal skulls continue to live their own lives. They pass from hand to hand, disappear and reappear, attract and frighten, inspire and destroy. Their secret has not yet been revealed, but one thing is certain. They leave no one indifferent who has ever met their icy, transparent gaze. So we have come to the end of our journey into the mysteries of the Mayan crystal skulls. But to be honest, it seems like the real story is just beginning. Everything we have seen and heard is only a small part of what these transparent crystal eyes hide. Their mystery has not been fully revealed, and perhaps it will never be fully revealed. Each skull, like a mirror of time, reflects not only the past, but also the future. They look at us through the centuries as if asking, are we ready to understand what is stored in their depths? Their history is full of tragedies, strange coincidences, and mystical manifestations. And all this creates the feeling that they are alive, and we are just guests in their world. It may seem that these are just legends and fiction, but who can explain the phenomena that happen to those who come into contact with the skulls? Flashes of light, sudden visions, strange sounds, inexplicable deaths. All this is repeated from era to era, from hand to hand. Perhaps the Mayans left us a warning, or perhaps they wanted to pass on knowledge that humanity had to use with caution. And here comes the most intriguing thought. What will happen when the 13 skulls are collected together? Will knowledge truly be revealed that can change the course of history? Or will it be a test that can break those who dare to approach the truth? History, legends, and mystical cases suggest that the skulls do not tolerate frivolity. They demand respect, caution, and understanding. And while humanity searches for answers, the crystal skulls continue to exist outside of time, hidden from the eyes of most people. They remind us that the world is much more complex and mysterious than we think, and that the secrets of the past can be not only knowledge, but also a test for the soul. And if you ever come face to face with one of these artifacts, stop for a moment and listen. There may be more hidden in their eye sockets than meets the eye. Perhaps at that very moment you will feel a slight chill running down your spine, or hear a whisper that seems to come from the depths of time. And then you will understand. The crystal skulls are not just artifacts. They are a bridge between worlds, between the past and the future, between knowledge and mystery. So think about it, viewers. Are you ready to embark on the path of searching and exploring these mysteries? Are you ready to dare to lift the curtain behind which ancient secrets and mystical knowledge are hidden? Every action you take can be a step into the unknown, where reason collides with mysticism and science with ancient magic. If this story has captured your imagination, if you felt a chill from these legends or a desire to know more, then stay with us. Subscribe to our channel to explore the most mystical and mysterious pages of history together. If you enjoyed this journey, and be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about crystal turtles? Do you believe in their power, or do you consider it just a mystical legend? Remember, the secrets of the past live here, in these stories, and only you can decide if you are ready to discover them for yourself. Every view, every comment, and every discussion helps us uncover more and more pages of forgotten archives. Your support is what allows us to move forward, solve mysteries, and share with you those secrets that the world is not yet ready to fully understand. The Mayan crystal skulls remind us that reality is full of hidden layers, that the past and future are intertwined, and that knowledge that seems unattainable to us may be waiting for us. They invite us to explore, to seek answers, and perhaps to look beyond the familiar world. So stay tuned, because there are still many mysterious stories, mystical artifacts, and ancient secrets waiting to be revealed. In the meantime, look around, listen to the whispers of the past, and ask yourself, what would you do if you found yourself face to face with a crystal skull?